and welcome to another episode of the Blues Focus podcast, airing weekly on Spotify, Apple Music, and on YouTube. I'm Kieran, your host for this episode, and with me again this week, I've got Elliot joining me to discuss all things transfer related and obviously the first competitive game of the season against Cambridge. And we'll get straight into it because there's been a couple of confirmed deals since we last sat down and spoke, Elliot. Johnny Lecco and Adam Clayton through the door now. Are you happy with both of those deals?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm relatively happy. I'm really pleased with Lecco. I think he's going to be a very exciting player. Obviously, he's coming back from a serious injury since Christmas, so it's going to be interesting to see how he returns from that. They're saying, or Karanka is saying today, that he's probably got another month of rehab to go, and then training. So I'm presuming he won't be back till around sort of November time, or the sort of fixtures running into Christmas. But it'd be an interesting player. I think he'll utilise him up front or just off the striker. So it'd be really good to see him play. And also, in regards to Clayton, solid. I don't really know much about him. I know he's had a few injuries, sort of problems last season. So he sort of just buffs up the midfield a little bit for us, doesn't he, really? So, relatively happy with that one.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the, I don't want to say a few fans, obviously every fan's delighted or pleased with the fact that we're making shrewd additions at the minute. I'm quite pleased with the Clayton signing. I think he brings us something different in that midfield that we've lacked for a few years. I know Middlesbrough fans refer to him as the crab and said he always used to go side to side, but isn't it about time that we had a midfielder that actually know how to keep the ball, efficiently? Yeah. Even if you are knocking it from side to side, if you're keeping it moving and you're keeping possession, you're not just lumping it up the pitch or hoping that you can whip a ball around the back and Colin will get onto the end of it, for example. The amount of balls I've seen us put out for a throw-in, they're playing a pass like that or what have you is unreal. So it's about time, I think, our midfield had someone like that in there. Can just sit and do that. And I think in terms of Lecco, I think before his injury at Charlton, he was looking, you could always see he has a bit of talent about him. Likes to take his man on. Obviously, if he can add a bit more end product into his game, which he was starting to show signs of at Charlton, I think he could be a really shrewd addition for £1 million they're reporting. A really good addition indeed. But obviously, away from that, more pressing issues, as Karanka has said in his conference today, still another senior keeper and a striker on his wish list for the rest of this window. Obviously, names still bounding around left, right and centre, especially in the striker department. So where do your thoughts sit? Who would you like to see in, first of all?
There's obviously been various names that have popped up the last sort of week or two. Obviously, there was rumours sort of a week ago or so that Duke was on his way, was not on his way, but Forest were interested, potentially looking to put a bid in for him. I think it'd be very disappointing to see the club sell Djukovic, unless it's for a very sizable fee, obviously. I think he still offers a different option from the bench, a plan B. If we're chasing a game, he can make a nuisance of himself in the box, and we can sort of revert more to sort of a direct ball. So I think it would be silly if Forest looking at someone like Djukovic as a potential asset next season, then we should be. I think we should be keeping hold of him. If it was in, if we were able to do a swap deal maybe with Lewis Graben, I might be slightly interested. But I think what we need next season is a 20-goal striker or someone that's going to get in and around 20 goals. I know Duke got 15 goals last season, but he needs some help up front. So, and a bit of competition. So, I think there's not a lot of options out there unless we're going to get someone in on loan, maybe towards the end of the window. But you got any sort of names on your mind at the moment?
First of all, I agree. Djukovic shouldn't be going anywhere this window. I know Karanka wasn't a fan of his when he had him at Middlesbrough, I believe. And obviously Karanka only locked one striker. Now, if Karanka's looking for a striker, it tells you that Djukovic probably isn't going to be the first name on the team sheet for him. But as you say, he's ideal to have, even coming off the bench for 10 minutes if you're chasing a game, because he provides you something that not many other championship strikers out there can do. We all know how good he is in the air. Good at holding the ball up and like I say, just being an all-round nuisance. Do we really want to let someone like that go to, especially another championship club? I'm not saying we'll be in direct competition with Forest. I'm guessing they'll be looking top 6 again. But do we really want to see one of our fan favourites doing a job at another club? I don't want to do that, and I think he'd be ideal to keep inside. And Graben's an interesting one. Obviously, I think he's going to cost a bit, but he's a certified championship finisher all day long. I'd love to see him at the club, to be honest. Whether he fits in with Karanka's ethos that he wants, obviously every player's got to be happy at the club. They've got to want to play for the shirt, and they've got to fit in with these team morales. We've seen it for ourselves on that Sunderland documentary. Graben likes to be a bit of a nuisance behind the scenes, doesn't he, at times? So
yeah,
I think he's top of my list for who I think we could realistically at least contemplate going for. And then I've got a couple of other names that we spoke about as well, which I'm going to throw to you, see what you say. So the first one, obviously, pipe dream, but every fan likes to bring it up every single transfer window. Troy Deener.
No from me. He had injury problems last season. I think he's got a problem with his knee, and I just think with the wages he's earning, and I just think if he doesn't hit the ground running for us and he struggles, it's just too much pressure on his shoulders, I think. So straight up no from me. I don't want Troy Deeney at Birmingham next season.
I think Troy Deeney's also said in the past that he never wants to play for us, hasn't he? He says he doesn't want that pressure of playing for us. So you can't knock him for. And again, absolute pipe dream. I think realistically. There was talks of him going to Leicester for 30-odd million a year or two ago. And I'm pretty sure even this window he's linked with Spurs at some stage. So, yeah, I think we can dream on with that one. Next one, another former Karanka favourite, Christian Stuani.
That's an interesting one. It popped up on Twitter today. He has scored 30 goals this season. Again, it is Spanish second division, so we're probably the quality's not quite there. Even Jimenez got 20 goals in that league, so even though half of them were penalties, but we won't go into that. But Stuani, interesting one. He's 33 years old. I think he'll be 34 years old next season. If it was a small fee and the wages were right, I would definitely take him. 100%. Definitely take him, but you're not going to get more than a season out of him. If you're looking at someone like, say, Lewis Graben, who we just touched on at the start, who's 32, probably get 2 more seasons out of him, which would probably be a little bit more, which would be better, I think. And if you want guaranteed 20 goals, I think I would personally go for someone that's already scored 20 goals in the Championship, as opposed to someone scored over 20 goals in the second division in Spain. But yeah, it's an intriguing name, I think.
I think did Stuani, correct me if I'm wrong, but Stuani struggled when he was at Middlesbrough, but was that back when was they a Premier League side at the time when they signed him? But I'm pretty sure they had him at the start of their season back in the Championship. I can't remember him setting the world alight as such, but could be, towards the end of the window, especially if we're desperate, could be one to arguably keep an eye on, I suppose, if he's still available. I know his club are looking for fees for some sort of money from somewhere, as there are a lot of clubs with what's going on. So, then the next one, go on.
No, I was going to say this is the problem that we've got is that clubs know that we've just brought in 25 million for Jude Bellingham, and if you're Girona sitting on a player that's just scored 30 goals in about 34 games, any team that's if we're going to come calling for him, they're going to want us to get the checkbook out. This is the problem that we're probably facing at the moment, which is probably why we're probably going to have to bide our time a little bit, maybe look at the loan market. So, yeah, it's going to be a tricky one.
I think that's an interesting one. Obviously, if what you've just said about people knowing that we've got the money is an interesting one when we touch down on it further down the line, because after these strikers, we're going to move on to the goalkeeper situation. So, yeah. Another name I've seen knocked about on Twitter a little bit is Jermaine Defoe. What are your thoughts on that one? Interesting link. Never in a month of Sundays did I ever think we'd be linked with Jermaine Defoe, but obviously Twitter accounts nowadays will link us with anyone. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm surprised we're not linked with Messi, to be honest. But yeah, Defoe.
I'm still waiting for the Cavani links.
I don't know about Defoe. I don't even know how old he is. Was he 36? Got to be 36 now.
35, 36, I think. Yeah.
I
don't really set the world a lot of Rangers either.
No, he doesn't. They've got some good strikers, good forwards there, to be fair to him. But it's a difficult one. Would I take? I'd take Defoe right now, yeah, because we haven't got anyone. But I think I would prefer us to bring someone in a little bit younger than 36.
I'd have liked to have been linked with Jermaine Defoe about 10 years ago. That'd have been nice.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah,
Jermaine Defoe. Take it. Even 4 years ago would have been nice, you know. So.
Coming off the back of Spurs wanting to get rid of him, that'd have been a nice time to be linked to him. But yeah, here we are. One that I know that I've seen a lot of Twitter pages and fans wanting and seeming to. Again, I agree. This one's a realistic one. Cauley Woodrow from Barnsley. I think wages will be okay, but what about fee?
Yeah, I think so. He sort of cuts he sort of fits the bill. I think he's not too slow. He's not sluggish. He can hold the ball up well. He can finish. He's performed in a relatively sort of struggling side with Barnsley. So yeah, he'd get my vote. Again, it all depends on how much money they'd want and whatnot. So it's a difficult one, but yeah, I would definitely be looking at someone like Woodrow, 100%.
It definitely knows where the net is. I think last season was his first full championship season, and he got 14 goals, I think, off the top of my head, if I remember rightly. So yeah, I think you create the chances for him that we were creating, especially at the start of last season. You'd put money on him getting at least similar figures again, but I think it all depends on what fee they demand, and they do. Are they really going to sell their main striker to us? I mean, they'd see us as direct competition next season.
Yeah,
I suppose.
And I know a lot of supporters. If we move on from Woodrow, I know a lot of supporters wouldn't be massively infused by this name, but I would give Scott Hogan another chance. I know he wasn't particularly at the races since lockdown, but he certainly put in some brilliant performances from Christmas up until that period. And I think if we sort of go down the road of, trying to kick the ball on the deck a little bit more next season, I'm not saying we're going to start passing the ball around like Barcelona, but if we're going to start knocking the ball around a little bit more on the deck next season, it might play into his sort of game a little bit more. I know he might struggle a little bit more on his own up front, but again, it's just another option, I think.
I wouldn't be against Scott Hogan coming back, and especially if we'd done it as a loan deal, for example, for a season. Yeah. But one thing that does make me wonder is I think, if I remember rightly, he's coming into his last season on his Villa deal. Pains me to say their name on this podcast, by the way, but I think he's on his last year with them. Are they going to be willing to loan him out for obviously we're looking for reasonable fees at at best. Yeah, I think he's going into his last year on his Villa deal, and obviously if we're going down the route of we want to pay reasonable fees, Lecco the only one we've spent money on at the time being at £1 million. They're going to want to sell him, realistically, aren't they? And they're going to want 4 or 5 million. Now, if we go in with a loan deal, are they not going to want the same sort of fee as a loan deal to make sure they get some sort of money before he walks away for nothing in the summer?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not sure they've had that conversation yet. I'm sure, but I'm sure Karanka's got his own target, so maybe Hogan's not on that list, to be honest. But yeah, they will want money. It's last year, so they will want a few bob, I would have thought. But oh well, it's not like I've only got a week, so I'm sure they can sort something out.
Yeah, I think that he'd be, even if he's not going to be first choice, I think arguably we maybe need 2 strikers. I think we need someone who's going to be your certified goal getter, who's going to go in there and be the first choice. I think you're going to keep Duke around, and I think we still need someone else if we pick up an injury, because I'm not saying they're not going to be good in time, but would I rely on the likes of Reed and Miller and what have you this summer, this season? I don't think we can. I don't think we should. It's a lot of pressure for a young lad if that's the case. We talk about it with Jude last season. We relied on him too much, and you knew from the off that he had obvious talent. Whereas I think these lads in and around the team at the minute, they're going to have to work a bit more to really get the fans on side. Unfortunately, I think it's a difficult one.
It is a worry. I think if Djukovic is out for the next, I'm presuming he won't make the Brentford game. You're starting to think who's going to start up front against Brentford, and although it's not the time to panic, it's the first game of the season, and we are looking at a long-term project, is what we're looking at with Karanka. We shouldn't really be worrying about the first game of the season. If he does have to put an academy kid up front, so be it. But it is a little bit frustrating as a supporter to think that we might be playing a 17-year-old up front, against the likes of Brentford.
Yeah, different situation though. But obviously, last season we started against Brentford on the first day of the season, and we had a Seddon at left back, obviously not your academy goal getter at 17 years old, but was it his first competitive game for us? I think, wasn't it? And obviously eyebrows were raised. He went and got himself in a system. We won. So, obviously completely different positions, completely different expectations, and obviously at the end of the day, we need the goals to win. I think Brentford might get one. So obviously you want to win, you need to straight off the bat. I think we need a professional that has been there and done it before for that game. Realistically,
I think Karanka's comments today were interesting, because I think they are obviously keen to get a first choice striker in before the season starts, but I think it's looking very difficult, and I don't think they want to be drawn into words like they're struggling basically, or it's becoming a little bit sort of long and drawn out with trying to find one. It obviously is, and like anything with the transfer window, it usually does go down to the last week, couple of days. So yeah, I do think that the first 3 or 4 games of this season is going to be a case of making do with what we have at the moment, and trying to get people back fit, and hopefully pulling something out the hat in terms of a striker. I don't think they want to be rushed into I don't know what the word is, but be desperate, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's one thing with Karanka's press conference today. Is what he said is, we're not in a rush, we're not desperate. There's still 4 or 5 weeks left of the window, and I think it's important to say not to panic. Obviously, the board aren't. Karanka doesn't seem to be at the minute. But I think sooner rather than later, we've got to make a move for someone. because otherwise we are going to start to panic even behind the scenes, and we will end up making a rash decision towards the end of the window if we're not careful. And obviously, we've seen with previous regimes, for example, I've seen a list today, seen the list confirmed of who Harry Redknapp signed in his transfer window. And you've seen the likes of Liam Walsh in midfield, Jason Lowe came in. You can't tell me they were thought out signings, really. And we don't want to be in that situation again. Come October when the window shuts, we don't want to be left with players that realistically we never really wanted.
No,
And I think it's
gearing up fine so far. The window, like so, we've got six through the door, which is really good. Business has been really good. We've only spent £1 million, which has been great. It's probably the money that we're receiving from Coventry for the season, for the honour of playing in our ground. But so we're not really our outgoings are zero apart from the wages. The wages, but obviously, we offloaded a lot of players. So I think so far it's been good. I think definitely this window will be made or broken by who we get up front and potentially first choice goalkeeper. So.
Yeah, touching on the goalkeeper situation, when we last spoke, we were still talking, Phillips or Etheridge from Cardiff. A week on, we're still on. Will it be Phillips or Etheridge from Cardiff? Rumour has it that both clubs want £1 million for their respective player. If that's the case, and push comes to shove, where do you spend that £1 million yourself?
I think the smart money would be on Phillips because of his age and the potentially he could go on. He could go for a larger fee in the future. I think if you want an instant number one, it'd be Etheridge for me. You definitely get a good 3 or 4 years out of him. So, but then you won't have any sort of sell on from him. It's a really difficult one. I would be happy with either personally. I don't think it's. I don't buy the fact that it's to do with money with the club. I do think that Karanka is really willing to give Preito. I think his name is Preito. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think they're willing. I think he's willing to give him a shot. I think it looks like he's willing to give him a shot and say, look, here's the first couple of games, mate. Let's see how you get on. And then he might bring in a senior number two instead. So that's how I sort of see it at the moment. And if Preito doesn't perform as well as he's hoping in these opening sort of 2, 3, 4 games, then you might see Etheridge come in.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to say that obviously the board's philosophy for many signings recently, especially, has been sell on value. Can they ship in more than we spend? I.e., you look at the likes of Sunjic. I think he'll only ever go for a profit, regardless of how many times he frustrates the fans with his performances sometimes. And I think, like you say, Phillips is the one that brings that. But the flip side of that is if you're spending £1 million on a goalkeeper and you know for a fact they're coming in to be the number one, pushing that money to the Etheridge deal, like you say, for a fact he's going to be the number one. He's not going to come here and be number two, which Preito was probably bought in to do, realistically. I think it's fair to say. Don't want to knock him because he's played, 2 friendlies. You can't really judge players on a friendly as such. So Cambridge at the weekend and then potentially Brentford will be interested to watch. But I'm torn between what I'd want us to do, personally. As soon as the Etheridge deal was announced, originally, I was like, fantastic, bring him in. And I think when it's first bounced around, we was talking, people were saying £3-4 million was the fee. which I thought was a bit far-fetched, which was the one thing I thought would be putting us off. But if Cardiff only want £1 million, to me, that was a no-brainer until the idea of potentially getting Phillips in. I just want a keeper that we could bring in and he can make that position his own for many years. I think if you bring Phillips in, eventually he probably gets ripped away from us if we don't start being one of the big hitters in the next 2 years, 3 years. And then you're back at square one.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that they've obviously seen something in Preito, maybe in training, and they've obviously had discussions. And I do think that's why they've not rushed into a decision of getting, going for Etheridge. I do think that he's very much on their radar, and I do think he's very much in Karanka's thoughts. But I think Preito is going to get an opportunity to show what he can do. That's my thoughts on it at the moment. But it might completely change in the next week or two. So we'll have to wait and see.
If we want a senior number 2, then I'm pretty sure Lee Camp's still on a free contract.
I'd have had him as a number 2 all day long. Yeah, it's a shame.
I thought that was the idea at first. I thought the idea was going to be that he signed on to be, just sustaining around the group. But
he wants first. I'm sure he feels like he can get first team football for another season or 2. So
rumours he was going to Salford, I think, wasn't there? But I don't think they ever materialised by the looks of it. But
I'm sure he'll get a club. I'm sure he'll get a club somewhere. So
football manager again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, no, the keeper's an interesting one, but I think that'll play out over the next couple of weeks. That one. So we've got a goalkeeper now, and it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to knock him off. He's played 2 friendlies. You can't judge him off that. So it'd be interesting to see the next few games. And good luck to him,
Yeah,
he doesn't. For a fact that if he puts in a couple of lousy performances, he's going to have some fans on his back, and that ain't going to help, is it? Realistically, because no one really knows what he's capable of at this point in time. He could be the next big number 1 in the Championship. You never know, there.
Absolutely, and although he was backup keeper to a side that finished bottom in La Liga last season, which doesn't bode massively well. Karanka obviously sees something in him, and he's obviously well regarded. So I'm definitely intrigued to see how he performs. That's for sure. Yeah. So yeah, see how it goes. I think like I say, the pressing position at the moment, the pressing Mate is getting a striker in, first team striker in, or just a senior striker would be great. So yeah, I think it's an important week next week. If they can't get what they want, I think it's going to be a few weeks before we see a senior striker come in.
Yeah, I think we need to act fairly quickly. Like I say, obviously you've got the fact that we don't want to rush it towards the end, and also Brentford game looming, and there's going to be other clubs looking for the same position, and obviously you're going to have 3 or 4 clubs looking at every single one of our targets, I'm guessing. So you want to get in there before you lose out, I suppose. Just quickly touching right back to the whole Forest being into Djukovic and obviously Graben being there. Do you think we should have gone for Lyle Taylor when he was on a free contract? That's a question I meant to ask you earlier.
Yeah, I think so. I think, unfortunately, that deal with Lyle Taylor to Forest was done quite early. So we obviously didn't have a manager at the time, and but that would have been definitely a striker I would have taken all day long. So yeah, like I said, I think he'll start ahead of Graben next season. So I'd love us to try and go in for him, but it depends what sort of money they want. For a 32-year-old, you're not going to be paying stupid money, are you? So yeah, it's a really difficult window, I think. Obviously, with the pandemic and everything at the moment, people are not spending, and people obviously want silly money. So yeah, it's just a difficult one, really.
The only ones spending any real money is your big clubs, aren't they? You see everyone. It's been a slow window so far, but it's all round. It's not just us. It's just
unless you're a Chelsea fan. unless you're a Chelsea fan, it's been a pretty slow window. So yeah, my girlfriend's been pretty happy as a Chelsea supporter. The business they've done is just ridiculous. But
big money, big names. So
different, just a different planet, isn't it? To be honest, just a complete different world.
Right, it sounds like they're going to confirm Havertz either tomorrow or over the weekend. So that's another £100 million that only Blues could only dream of having in the bank, I suppose.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And 300 grand a week or whatever it's reported that they're going to be paying him. It's just crazy money. It's just unfathomable, to be honest. Yeah, good luck to them. They'll definitely challenge next season. At least it keeps her happy.
Well, yeah, it means you can continue to make some podcasts for a little while yet.
Yeah, well, like I was like saying earlier on Twitter a few days ago, I'm a little bit more concerned about the club shop at the moment. The fact they're not getting their shirts out quick enough. So, I ordered my sort of soon-to-be newborn's first shirt, and still waiting 2 weeks on. So, if it doesn't turn up before Christmas, he'll have a Chelsea shirt on him. So,
yeah, you need to get that sorted, mate. Not
I'm a bit
chance he'll happen. Not chance. My other half's family's dad's a Liverpool fan, and I just says it's not a cat and house chance to see touching a Liverpool shirt. I'm sorry. No. But I think the club every year have issues with their bloody shirt deliveries, don't they? It's nothing new.
Yeah.
Every single time. I don't think I've ever pre-ordered the shirt and actually received it on release day, like they've said. I've ended up having to go and collect it from your local Alfords about 4 days later.
It's not been great. I haven't seen a lot of complaints online. So obviously, rubbing a lot of people up the wrong way, the club shop. But hey ho, hopefully they get it sorted. Hopefully they get it sorted out soon. So that's a shout out to the club shop.
Yeah, never change. Never change club shop.
Oh, please change. Please change. Please get better.
Well, we will have another catch up probably next week sometime. Obviously, we'll have the Cambridge game to sink our teeth into the first idea of our competitive Karanka side will look, albeit with another additional 2 probably still to go in there.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully a few more transfer deals to discuss, or at least some more rumours other than the, like we say, the classic links to Messi and Cavani. So, yeah. Well, as always, get us your questions in on the socials as well at Blues Focus Pod. Any names you want us to discuss, any questions on tactics that you want us to discuss, send them in. No question is too daft. And yeah, thanks for joining me, and we'll catch up again next week.